Perfect. So apparently, if you're going to hear me, you've got to put your earphones on. All right, so let's rock. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's absolutely fantastic to be part of this global expo. I had the opportunity to actually check out the one in Amsterdam before the Things Conference last September, and this motivated me to come all the way from Australia to present today. So very pleased to be here. So I'm Catherine. I'm a co-founder and director of sales for Meshed. We're an IoT solutions and system integration company. We have been involved in LoRa very early on, and we've been partners with Vinky and Johan since late 2015. We deployed our first network in January 2016. And what I'm going to do today is share with you real life case studies, very much picking up on Alistair's great point earlier of really focusing on the end customer of IoT. So I suppose the first proposition, though, that I'm going to put forward before I share these case studies with you is we hear a lot about scale in IoT. Well, if you're a telco, you need scale, right? Because that suits your business model. But from where we sit, with over, we've got over 100 and I think we're about 120 managed solution customers across all industries at the moment. What they're really interested in with regards to the Internet of Things is business impact. It's not about the number of sensors that are out there. It's about their return on investment. It's about increasing productivity. It's about getting closer to customers. And it's about doing things in a safe and sustainable way. That's what their mission is all about. So this concept of remote monitoring, right? So if we think it's simply telemetry, remote monitoring, intelligent asset management, digital asset management, whatever you want to call it, this is not a new concept. And in fact, back in, I think it was 1874, some French engineers put up a weather station to measure snow levels, and that data was sent via radio communications to Paris to inform the punters of whether or not there would be ski on the day. So this is pretty cool. We've come a long way, but it's not a new concept. And I'm going to use digital asset management. Funny enough, I actually did come from the digital media industry, but I'm going to use it interchangeably with intelligent asset management. And the reason why I'm doing that is that if you talk to reliability engineers, operational managers, they want to digitize their assets. So this thing around digital transformation is really key. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about the impact that technology and data can have to improve the performance of assets out there in the field. And there's a lot of drivers. We're finding in the last 18 months, our demand for intelligent asset management has been significant. One of the major drivers has been decarbonisation and looking at reducing waste. So that's a really key motivator. Obviously, optimisation of life cycle management, safety and compliance. But there's absolutely no doubt COVID-19 accelerated the adoption of remote monitoring. We have 75 municipalities as customers. They were sending people out willy-nilly, into public places before COVID, checking on assets that actually were fine. So you could put a sensor in a public amenity to see whether or not that public amenity is being used, and essentially that then informs the operations manager as to whether or not that needs to be serviced. But the other really cool thing about IoT is it's being supported through industry standards. So we've got 5500, we have standards around enterprise asset management. They're all supporting this adoption of the use of IoT in remote asset management. The end game, though, is data-driven decision making. It is absolutely critical. And when I'm talking about experts, we're talking about reliability engineers, heads of assets, facility managers, even placemakers. We do a lot of work with placemakers and urban designers about how they're going to put assets and how they're going to be protected. And I've got a seriously cool use case in a minute just about that. But I think what's also really important, we talk about interoperability. What's important is to make it really easy for the customer to get that real-time data that you're getting off a sensor in field to their existing platform, because they're not going to throw out their existing asset management in a hurry. right? Those systems cost them millions of dollars. So this is really important. And of course, what's really fantastic is we have these standards for connectivity which enable us to do that. And then, of course, the power of getting that ingestion into, say, a digital twin or an AI engine. Really, really cool stuff. So this is one of my first case studies. We call it Connected Places. As I said before, we have 75 municipalities that we have done hundreds of use cases for, and I challenge anybody in the audience today, if you can think of a use case in smart cities that you don't think we've tackled, I want to know about it, because we're on a mission to make that happen. So municipalities around the world spend millions of dollars on public benches, but do they know that they're actually being used? Well, what we did is we worked with these amazing designers on this cool seat, and I did actually have a photo of the mayor, but I thought I might have to go through some approval to have him on this slide, so that's okay. And we put a digital matter Yabby accelerometer and also a meshed encounter, and we tracked the usage of this bench. The results speak for themselves. Over 4,000 since February this year, just under 4,000 people used the bench, about 43 times a day, and that was 6 times more than the older bench. So if that's not return on investment, give me another use case. And this is actually in a medium strip. It's in between 2 roads. It's not in a park, right? So then again, this is great understanding of how councils can use land to support the community. Low-hanging fruit. Everywhere in the world, we have water networks. We have sewer networks. You know, don't underestimate the power of putting a sensor on your asset, your pumping station, your water quality, water tank level. And we do a lot of this for councils and water authorities where they're using LoRaWAN on the Things Industries enterprise for the mission-critical SLAs. And the key piece here was that the head of digital controls, the motivation was he was getting really tired of relying on cellular providers in a regional community where the connectivity is very poor. It's on and off. So by having LoRaWAN, which gets that extended mile capability, that really helped his business to be able to see what was going on with his assets. Have many people been to Australia? Okay, we do actually have ski slopes in Australia, and they're actually not that bad. Both my daughters learnt to ski. My younger daughter is a very gun snowboarder, and she learnt her first snowboarding skills on Australian slopes. I had an idea. I went to the Major Transport Authority because I also like snowboarding every now and then, although I'm getting a little bit too old for it. And I thought about what if we could help them with driver safety. And they said, Catherine, that's a really interesting discussion because per day during the ski season, we get 120, on average, call-outs per day for people needing assistance because they've either driven off the road, they've got bogged, they haven't put their chains on. So what we did is we put up some LoRaWAN gateways on the Alpine Highway. We combined that with very sophisticated weather sensors, a road condition and temperature sensor, and we put traffic counters and pedestrian counters, and that information was then sent to digital signways to inform people the condition of the road and then letting them know they need to pull in and put their chains on. But we didn't stop at that. We were monitoring to see whether or not people were putting the chains on. Okay, and the great thing about LoRaWAN, particularly in mountainous areas, is that if you put the gateways in great locations, you're going to get that connectivity, which is very difficult for cellular. So another business impact on safety. Smart construction. A little while ago, we created an industrial IoT starter kit, and we got called up by a major construction company to say, hey, Catherine, can we put this thing on our construction sites? I said, absolutely. You can solar power the gateway. We can give you a whole bunch of sensors. The coolest use case we did in this project, which was a multi-billion-dollar rail project, and it was a consortia with McConnell Dowell, Orange Business Services and Meshed, was we put a GPS tracker on the jib of the crane, and every time it moved a concrete pad in situ, that was then sent to a predictive engine of when the project would be finished. And you're not going to believe it, The 250 digital matter oyster tracker actually resulted in 97% accuracy of when that project was finished. So let's talk about business impact. This is not about thousands of sensors. This is about a really cool, simple use case that can help a construction company in terms of its productivity for completion. Ports. This is anybody who is talking to ports, I really encourage you to go and have a chat to their head of operations, because this is low-hanging fruit. You just think there are probably hundreds of use cases in ports that could be addressed by LoRaWAN. This is that's a corrosion monitor, right? Corrosion on the wharf pylons. You're in a sea environment. What are they trying to understand? End of life failure. That's a digital matter node on a piece of machinery checking pressure, checking movement. And the head of assets for this major port authority, which managed 3 huge ports in Australia, which we're working really closely with, he is on a mission to digitise every single asset across his port, and all of that data is now going into their digital twin, Esri-based digital twin. Manufacturing, someone raised high temperatures in steel works. One of our customers is one of the world's most innovative steel manufacturers. And the reason why we're here today in Australia is because we're right now deploying a network for them in Ohio for one of their plants there. Their mission was to get deeper penetration where their existing port facilities, precincts, manufacturings can't get that connectivity through Wi-Fi, LTE, or even satellite. The killer use case for them, vibration. Intrinsically safe, high temperature sensors. Anything to do with the machinery, and if that machine goes down, that's catastrophic failure for a manufacturing company. So again, it's about, we've put in one side about 200 Avantec vibration sensors. They love this stuff because that's informing them on how everything's going, and certainly making good use of it. And, for this is actually in Wollongong. They've got a port, they have a facility plus rail. So we've got rail gauge sensors. We've got stuff going on in the port, just off 2 gateways, right? So they're getting that great connectivity, and they've put an indoor gateway in their inside operations. So I'm going to close out now. I mean, we've heard about digital twins. Who's working in digital twins? Putting data into great, because people are a bit tired of Catherine going on for the last couple of years about the real importance of real-time data, and that's informing digital twins. But already we're having conversations with our customers about the industrial metaverse. And that's really exciting, because industries like construction, infrastructure, manufacturing, they're going to shift into this high-end visualization using real-time data of IoT, creating a virtual environment first before they build the physical environment. So I think this is really exciting. I wouldn't get too concerned about the hype around Meta. I'm not talking about Facebook here. I'm talking about the ability to take this data to the next level and really sort of combine it. And particularly important for mining companies, because they're using this technology for things like training, right? So it's dealing with skill shortages, which everybody is having to deal with. So if you can recreate this environment in a 3D environment using IoT and AL, that's where it's gone. So I'm going to finish now, but I've got 3 quick points. Have I got time for 3 quick points? Beautiful. So what have we learnt? Well, we started our deployments January 2016. And we pretty much, nailed the smart cities market, and now we're sort of really pushing heavily into industrial and whatnot. But what's very important, and again picking up on Alistair's point earlier, if you want to be successful in the business of IoT, you have to be prepared to go and have the business conversation. The business conversation is around digital transformation. Does that organisation have a digital transformation strategy? If they don't, help them with that. That's really important. As part of that strategy, they must have a data management strategy, because data is essentially what it's all about. And as a minimum, it must have security and compliance and principles. But that's where we've seen success, helping customers with the data framework to say, how does real-time data inform your existing data sets? How can we help you around that? And then, of course, the pushback that you're going to get from the engineer profession, and it's not just engineers, it's the OT with the IT, is our guys are used to, or our ladies, because there's a lot of ladies in mining in Australia, they're used to going out and doing these things on routine. They're going to lose their jobs. You've got to be prepared to answer those questions, and change management is really important. So start with pilots, start with things, low-hanging fruit, get those operational managers on board early, so then you've got the executive buy-in, and that will be a success in deploying large-scale intelligent asset management. So it is awesome to be here, and I want to do a huge shout out to Vinky and Johan, because Meshed would not be I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today without these two incredible gentlemen there. Their vision around what they created back with the Things Network inspired us in remote Australia to do this, and just really, really excited to be here, and I hope you enjoyed my case studies. And I don't know if I've got time for a quick question. Probably not. It's fine if there's, any quick questions? Otherwise, I'm good to go. No questions? It's all right. It's all good. Well, thank you so much. Ciao.